you are right now. Listen. Listen. Listen to that still small voice within as you continue to follow your breath even deeper and deeper and deeper into your subconscious. For that's where we find what Michael Singer has been teaching us. We find the observer. We are the observer of our consciousness, the objects of our consciousness. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not what's happening on the outside world. You are the observer. This is your true self. This is who and what you truly are. So breathe that into your being and get a sense of that. Get a true sense of who you are right now. And we take that into the silence so that we can rest into this truth and into this knowing. Let go of any conscious thought or feeling or what's going on the outside. Just let it go for a few moments as we rest in the depth of our consciousness of who we are in the silence. In the silence. In the silence. So now, ever so gently, just hold this sacred moment, this peace that you're experiencing from going within the depths of your own being. For we know that no matter what's going on in the outer world, the chaos, uncertainty, When we go within, there's only peace. Quiet, undisturbed peace. Now take a deep breath in and fully release it. One more time, breathe in and fully release. And now I invite you to begin to move in your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Roll your shoulders. Just to begin to come back to this room and to this place. Great to see you all this morning. Great to see that meditation. It's one of the joys I get to do. Being up here leading the meditation is looking at your face. Your face is, so it's peace. So as Bill said, today we conclude this series that we've been doing for the whole month, 2 months, July and August, on Living Untethered by Michael Singer. Today the title of the section of the book that I'll be talking about is Living a Life of Acceptance. So once we've let go of some of the blockages in our life, we then begin to learn a new way of living and accepting what's in front of us. So I remember when I think I was 10 or 11, I'm not sure of the time, a few of my friends and I were swimming at a pool of one of the friends that lived here, lived at the pool, I think it was an apartment complex where they lived. So there were a lot of people in the pool during the summer. And shortly after we got there to the pool, my friends and I all jumped into the pool. And I jumped in, but I stayed close to the edge of the pool and held on to the side. I've thought about this. I'm not even sure if I'd been in, maybe one other time I ever been in a swimming pool. I was 12 years old, 11 or 12, something like that. So I remember having a very healthy fear of water, an unhealthy fear of water. And I think that came from both my mom and dad, but particularly from my mom. She was deathly afraid of the water. Not sure, I don't remember why. I don't remember if she had an experience, just not sure. So soon I became very afraid because my friends, roughhousing with boys, started playing, and they drug me off the edge and pushed me down under the water. I didn't tell them that I was not a strong swimmer. I'm not sure that I had jumped in the lake a few times off the boat. I don't remember if my dad threw me in or what, but I do remember that and being able to get back to the boat. But in this case, my friends were, just like boys do, roughhousing, and not only were they pushing me down under the water, I just remember it vividly, pushing me from the top of my head and shoving me down to the water, so I almost went to the bottom. And again, panic set in. So I remember that so vividly, that long ago. That's 60 years ago. And I remember that so vividly. And what was 2 or 3 minutes, it seemed much longer. And I was definitely going through some panic. So as I came up, I was reaching and grabbing, trying to grab one of my friends, trying to grab the edge of the pool, but I was too far away from it. They had dragged me out. So my panic was showing when I came up out of the water, spitting, coughing, gagging water, feeling so embarrassed. I imagine everyone at the pool was watching and laughing. It was so embarrassing. I remember that so well. So this image came to me because Michael Singer says that's the way a lot of us live our lives. We live our lives as if we're drowning. Get that in your head. We live our lives as if we're drowning. Now, I admit that a lot of us, based on the age that we are, have done a lot of work on ourselves. I don't think we would be in unity if we haven't done the work. Doesn't mean there's not still work to do. We all know that. But I think we've done the work through 12 steps, yoga, through whatever, meditation. We've done some work, and yet there's still work to do. But in this, Richard Rohr, I was talking to somebody about this. Richard Rohr writes a book, Falling Upward. It's about the second half of life. It's unfortunate, but it seems to take until we have these spiritual awakenings. Not always, but it's the second half of our life. And Michael Singer confirms that. But the metaphor in your mind is when we're stuck and blocked into these patterns and traits from our old life. It's like living underwater, being underwater. It's like trying to grab something solid, a board, or again, my friend's arm or leg, anything, just to grab anything to keep from drowning. Just like I was doing 60 years ago. Of course, in these moments when we try to grab something outside of ourselves, the metaphor kind of goes away because we realize we can't grab something in our real life on the outside that really is going to take care of what's broken or what needs repair that's on the inside. There's nothing on the outside. It's not a new car. It's not a new wife, not a new husband, not a new relationship, which is isn't that what we grab for all the time? So that was the point of what he's saying. These blocks that we create from our past, we create these things where we're having to grab onto something to keep from drowning. So I guess the blockage for me started with my mom, I guess. That was a blockage. Didn't know anything about that. A few years later, so I began to release that. A few years later, my son, I took a swimming class. I think it was in my senior year in college, and I attempted to release that kind of stuff. And then a few years later, I gave for Christmas, I gave my oldest son, his name's Ronnie, I gave him and I a pass to go take scuba diving. So we both became certified scuba divers. And so, matter of fact, we even made a trip to Gainesville to swim in some of these small caves, springs. Not when we think caves, black. It was not quite that bad. But anyhow, I did it. And so the biggest blockage for me was shame. It took taking the first step to admit I had a problem. The blockage to be able to fully release and let go. In Richard Rohr's book, another book, Breathing Underwater, learning to breathe underwater until we find recovery, whatever we're addicted to, it's whatever the addictions are. It's a book about addictions. Whatever, and he believes that we're all addicted to something, even if it's our own thoughts, our own way, that it's my way or no way. So I'm amazed at the parallel of the teaching of Richard Rohr to Michael Singer, but it shouldn't surprise me. Truth is truth, and they're both great teachers. But we aren't there, quote, there yet until we release these blockages. In the book, he gives, in this last part, he gives examples of midlife crises. I don't know, again, most of us are old enough that if we were going to have one, we've already had it. I have. And so why does this occur to so many people? Why does it occur? I'm surprised there isn't more of it. He agrees with that. Why isn't there more of it? Have you ever experienced this, looking for a new job or a new marriage, a couple of kids, a house, you got all that, but then inside, you're not okay. You're still not okay. So we think finding this new relationship, whatever it is, new car, and then one day we realize that's not going to fix it. We have to clean up the mess. We aren't really drowning. We just use that as a metaphor to try to knock down these walls, these blockages, or why we're not, he calls it not okay inside. And usually it's trying to grab something on the outside to fix what's messed up on the inside. So I love the example he gives to this, to change your mind about this. We're not really drowning. We're sitting on a planet hanging in the middle of space, empty space. One of the spaceships took 2 million miles away, took a photo back looking at Earth. And it's absolutely amazing to see it. Earth is a little dot in the middle of black emptiness. And that's where we are. We're on this dark, empty space. And yet we won the lottery. Something we plucked down in the middle of this dark, empty space, and 2 million miles is just a walk around the park for what the distances of the universe is. There's nothing anywhere that we know of. There's nothing anywhere even close to what we have here. The beauty, the wonder, the colors, the smells, the touch, the plants, each other, the animals. There's nothing close to it that we have found anywhere in the universe. So what changes in our life is the stuff that we have stored inside of us. So it's almost like a hobby of collecting coins or dishes or whatever your hobby is. A lot of dishes, colored dishes, spoons, whatever, stamps, whatever it's almost like collecting a hobby. We collect the bad experiences in our life, we hang on to them, we remember them, and we store them down inside of our body. And then when they come up sideways. That's what I call it. It comes out sideways. So we can continue to make our life difficult as we continue to store inside of us and not release these bad experiences. Michael Singer reminds us, he does this throughout the book, that the world cannot make us happy while we're inside making ourselves unhappy and miserable. It's that simple. We can't use the outside world to take care of what's, and most of all of us have been there. I surely have. We have to letting go of the root cause of the suffering. And he reminds us the spiritual path is always about letting go of yourself. And that means dealing with the blocked energies, the stuff that's from our past inside. The blocked energies inside us are going to build up and need release if we don't deal with them. The energies may be released in the form of anger, verbal or physical fighting, or other bursts of uncontrolled behavior. We always say, well, I'm not that bad. I don't have those kind of blockages. I'm not that bad. But the question is are you okay inside? Are you okay? Whatever how it's manifested, are you okay? I've got some people in my family that could answer, would probably be that way. And I'm sure you do too. You know people. But those are other people, not me. We have to learn how to, he says we're all about having to learn to be in control as we release these blocked energies, or otherwise there's trouble. Again, the energies will come out sideways. So he talks about the pattern is either expression or suppression. We either express it or we suppress it. And then understanding this can give us compassion for ourselves and how we deal with others. That's what this is all about. Compassion means we understand the root cause of people's behavior. So then if we understand that, then he introduces the concept in this last section, living a life of acceptance. Transmutation. He calls it the highest, and it's other spiritual practices that I've read about, talks about transmutation. I don't know if you've experienced, you may have heard of this in the context of spiritual practice. It's using this energy that's stored inside of us in a positive way. So suppression blocks inner energy. Unchanneled expression wastes its power. So what is transmutation? What is spiritual transmutation? And again, I'm sure some of you have studied this, but it's not very common. We don't talk about it that much in Unity. And he says, Michael Singer says, transmutation is the essence of spirituality. That we take something that's blocked inside of us and we allow it to pass through our consciousness. without resistance so that we can release it, fully release it. Now, if this blockage was stored with pain, whatever the past is, whatever it is, when it comes out, as you begin to release it, it's going to come out as pain. That's just the way it is. As you release it, it's going to come out as pain. And he talks about the process of this. It involves using the energy as a positive force by allowing it to cleanse whatever is blocking. We use this to get spiritual in our life. So as I was studying this, and I've been studying this, I read his first book, The Untethered Soul, several years ago, and so I've been looking back at it, and it's very different than this book, or at least the writing concepts are the same. So there's no issue. If you've read this one, you can go back and read the other one. It's still you'll still learn a lot from it. But as I was reading this, I said, what are some of the examples in unity in our teachings of transmutation of energy? There's some very definite things that came to me about this. What about denials and affirmations? Taking something negative, we write a denial because of some negative circumstance or consequence in our lives, and then we turn that around with a positive affirmation. It releases the negative energy and moves the energy to a positive to a positive form with an affirmation of truth. We don't deny what's going on. We just release it. The simple example is if you have a flat tire, something negative in your life, or if you're stranded on the side of the road. We don't deny that the flat tire is real. We just deny that it doesn't have any power over us. We don't get caught in the circle. We don't block it and say, look, it's what's happened to me. Why does this happen to me? Well, again, you realize nothing's personal. The universe, all this stuff that happens, is not personal. I think the other ways of transmutation of energy is our third principle. We create our life by transmuting the energy of our thoughts and emotions to create our life, to create a positive life. In the fourth principle, we use affirmative prayer to create a world of peace and love and justice inside of us. The fifth principle, obviously, is we transmute the energy of our knowing, our teachings, to demonstrate power and presence of the God that we seek inside. You remember what all the master teachers have told us, spiritual teachers. The God that you seek is already seeking you. Yeah. So that's how we transmute the energy. And he's told us in the last section of the book of techniques of how to release these energies, and one is meditation. So in unity, I call that another way that we transmutation of the energy in us is meditation. It's a perfect example of energy transmutation. By focusing on your breath, being present in the moment, we can observe anything that's negative, emotions or thoughts, and we can let go of them and don't judge them. Don't have any judgment. They're not no reason to judge it. Just look at it and let it go. And let your energy flow more freely. Isn't that what we do in meditation? Just to let go and let it, and just to be. We know there's a much, much higher way to live than sometimes that we get caught in these when we get caught in these blockages. There's a great example of this in the first book. He gives an example of walking out into this field, and you've built a house, this beautiful house in this open field. And as you've lived in this house for years, you've boarded up the windows, you've solidified the walls, the doors. There's no electricity in this house in the middle of a beautiful, beautiful meadow. Just imagine that. And then you've closed it up where you can't get any light in because the light was bothering you or whatever. It was a blockage. You blocked the light. You blocked the sunlight. from coming into your cottage. That's what we do in our lives. We build the walls so that nothing can get in. And to relax and to release, to let go, we have to start knocking those walls down. The sun kept shining. That's the sun. And there's no judgment about when we're ready to receive the sun. In the house, it's not, the sun's still there, we just can't see it. Darkness is the absence of the light. So all we have to do is open the door, open the window, knock down the wall. The sun's still there. The light is still there. We don't have to do anything. There's no judgment about that. It's still there. The sun's always there. That's the metaphor. So he talks about the way that these blockages, definitely in our relationships, we have to push the samskaras that are blocking our relationships out of the way. And I know I still have work to do on this. Responding rather than reacting, getting defensive, wanting to always control. So for me, there's clearly still work to do. When we think, because we're in this second half of life, as Richard Rohr calls it, we might get complacent and think we're done. Well, I'm not done. I don't know about you. The AA Big Book has a section called The Promises. I won't read the whole thing to you, but it says, we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. Removing the blockages brings us peace. When we tear down the walls, we get peace. Singer reminds us we are the self with a capital S. The consciousness, the conscious witness of all that passes before us. We are the observer. We have free will. We use it to accept what has already happened rather than letting past events mess up our lives. I think I've got this somewhere else. I wanted to mention that. So there's some things that come to my mind that are very traumatic. There's a lot of trauma, anxiety, stress in the world today. Some of these emotional concerns are hard, very difficult, challenging to release. Addiction to alcohol or drugs or whatever is not just snappy. At least it wasn't for me. Some people can get instant healing is available. I believe that. Most of us have to do the work. So he says earlier in the book, he says, I don't think I've mentioned this, whatever you need to do to release these blockages, if it's therapy, if it's going setting your butt in an AA meeting for a year, 2 years or whatever you have to do to release the blockages, that's okay. If you want to go meditate for a year in his ashram that he has in Gainesville, that's okay too. Coming apart from the world is good. That may be a bit excessive, but you can have a turn doing that. Whatever you need to do, whatever it is, you can do it. It doesn't mean you have to be a guru. Most of his teachings comes from Hindu and Buddhist teachings, or the way he understands it. So one of the things that he gives a great, I'm not going to share it with you, he gives a great dialogue between Luke and Yoda as a way to remind yourself to let go. I won't read the whole thing. The point is, Yoda is telling Luke, he's in a tug of war. Luke is in a tug of war with an NFL football team. And so he knows he's going to get beat and dragged through the mud. And so Yoda's saying, let go, relax, just let go of the rope, relax. He says, I can't. If I do, I'll get dragged through the mud. Yoda keeps saying, let go, relax your hands. And Luke says, no, not the hands, feet and legs maybe. That's how you'd have to do this tug of war. Yoda says, over it will be, Luke, if you relax your hands. The tug of war is over. The struggle is over if you just drop your hands and relax. Then he said, go home and have lunch and watch a football game. It's over. Why do we keep struggling with that? My son and I was doing a lot of work with my son, just, growing up in an alcoholic home, because I'm a recovering alcoholic. As a young adult, we did some therapy together, experiential work. We went from Nashville to Chicago to do this. I'm kind of spoiling it if you've done anything like this. There was a meditation to put us into this mode where we find something that represents the pain that we're having in our life. And in this particular thing, just like the rope, the tug of war, this one was hit the floor to represent how much pain, whatever it is that you're trying to release, whatever it is, you can just, or hit your head against the wall. Just keep hitting your head against the wall. Keep hitting the floor. We're all on the floor with this. Keep hitting your hand as hard as you can. Hard as you can. Guess what? Your hand turns red and swells up because they were hitting the floor so hard. How do we stop the pain? Stop hitting the floor. All we have to do is stop. Stop hitting the floor. Let go of the rope and go have lunch. So what's next? Relax and release to go even deeper to these higher states of love. It's all about love. We know that. Everything we say in unity is about love. Start with a low-hanging fruit and then progress to letting go of your past if you haven't done that, or if there's still some things there. So in September, we're going to continue looking at letting go of your past to create and practice wholehearted living. The book we'll follow is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. You might wonder how in the world does that connect to this, what Michael Singer is trying to teach. She says that from research that she's done in vulnerability and shame can change our lives to be more compassionate and to be what we're desiring is connection, and yet the shame and mostly the shame in our lives keeps us from being connected. And wholehearted living is the way people who have let go and processed this, it's how they live, wholeheartedly. So again, whatever we need to do to let go of these blockages is what we do. So we'll do this with Brené Brown, but you can also go to his site. You can go to Michael. I've been studying. I've got this. It's 9 hours worth of him lecturing. It's transcripts of the tapes, of the videos, and you can send questions in. There's all kinds of ways you can continue that. His facility, his meditation center is in Gainesville, and so no matter what you do, please don't stop. Continue working on yourself. Look at the blockages, see what comes up. You don't even have to look for them. They'll come up. You don't have to look for them. Just be aware. Just be aware when they come up. I get to work on that now. Yay! No, sometimes not the case. May take a couple of times, right? Let go of the rope. Stop beating your head against the wall. Surrender. Relax and let go. The goal is to stop struggling. Start experiencing a life of liberation, serenity, openness, and self-knowledge. That's what Living Untethered is all about. So again, another comparison to unity. He closes in the book, he says, as we go deeper, as we let go of these blockages and go deeper and are able to go deeper in the consciousness, we understand why Jesus said, the kingdom is within you. It's the very essence of your being. It's not on a mountaintop. It's not down in the ground, buried deep. It's not in the ocean. It's within you. The kingdom of God is within you. And as Bill said, repeating what Michael Singer, and you who do the work of liberating yourself are to be deeply respected. because you are changing the world. So be in the world, but not of it. Namaste.